Hey, this is Terra Illumination. It's Monday night over here. What is it? It's an incredible day historically speaking, with the astrology, the Gaza peace deal, and so on. It's been very weird for me personally. This little recording is going here because I'm having a lot of troubles with my X app itself, permissions, cameras, and microphones, and so on. And I'm having glitchy things with my computer in studio, so I thought I'd just make a little video here. I was up early and tracking the big meetups over in Egypt and then Israel. There's Donald Trump in Israel first thing, hanging out at the Knesset, giving speeches and so on. Everybody applauding and so on. Trump is the peacemaker and so on. And then he zooms over with Ivanka and Ivanka's husband, Jared Kushner. The next part of the meetup is over in Egypt. Again, mind-boggling reception. 36 world leaders, basically all there applauding Donald Trump. It's pretty mind-blowing. I was actually getting very weepy because the implications of this deal are just potentially staggering. In other words, peace in the Middle East. Seriously? After hundreds of years or thousands of years? Seriously? Anyway, we'll see. I think this is going to sound really cynical, but I got to follow the money. So just in my head, I keep thinking Gaza, Palestine, the whole concept is kind of chaotic and dysfunctional. Sure, the Israel troops have withdrawn and the hostages, the living ones, have been recovered. Some have already met up with their families. It's staggering. There are renegade Hamas soldiers still causing trouble and killing Palestinians who were deemed to be supporters of the deal. But it looks like those remaining savages are going to be dealt with. And then there'll be some kind of strange self-governance for Gaza, Palestine, and the Gazan people. And it won't be ruled by Hamas. It'll still be an Arabic, Muslim, Islamic culture. But with this peace deal, that whole Middle East, Islam, Muslim, Arabic culture seems to be morphing into a massive nucleus of a new parallel empire. Again, all about the money, because they got so much freaking money in the hands of a few people. And everyone else is like deranged, living under tyranny, starving, poor, chaotic. There's also a lot of brain power, huge amounts of highly educated people with amazing brain power, and they could contribute tremendously to the world economy and so on and so on. But it's all very confusing. I got into astrology when I was a kid because I was trying to figure out of desperation what the bleep is going on in my life that I can't figure out in three-dimensional methods. I was born lucky in some ways, depending how you measure good fortune. I've had an awful lot of misfortune, leaving me wondering how the hell am I still alive today? So many health issues, financial issues, issues with violence, not me, coming at me, and so on. So I started to puzzle things. I'm an artist, writer, and musician by nature, but then I had to go into astrology and all this weird stuff because of all these psychic phenomenon I was having. Looking back now, yeah, I get it. So I live in my own little microscopic bubble of my own self-crafted belief system. Probably other psychics, astrologers, and tarot readers would understand, but for the vast bulk of the population, it's still kind of a weird subject. Anyway, I look at the charts every day, and it's been building up for a long time. The few days leading up to this peace deal and the few days after represent monumental astrology in terms of the potential for evolution of our species to become better, which means we have to find ways to overcome our less than better behaviors. And we've just witnessed a spectacular example of that today. Well, it's already almost tomorrow over in the Middle East. But anyway, Trump went in, did his business, came out. He did the Israel Knesset meetup. He did the Egypt meetup. Hostages were returned. They're looking now for the remaining dead hostages that are stuck down in tunnels. It's kind of gross, but they're going to figure it out. Trump is already back. Moving on. History in the making. I was tearful through a lot of this because I was in shock. The reason I was in shock is because I couldn't believe that the deal actually went through. I know it sounds really cynical and nasty because I try to give Trump the benefit of the doubt all the time, but he's under extreme pressure. When I looked at the astrology from the day before and 2 days before with the moon in Cancer, creating this vicious T-square against the Venus in Libra, opposing Saturn and Neptune right on the horizon, I just saw more of the same. Evil, treachery, betrayal, lies, crime, murder, suicide of culture, and everything evil that you could possibly imagine. Excuse me. And I was feeling nausea all day yesterday, and I've been weepy all day today, mostly because I'm in shock that the deal actually went through, because this sounds awful. I got gripped by fear, and I felt that Hamas was going to go absolutely berserk and destabilize this whole thing and effectively commit suicide rather than going along with the deal. But that didn't happen. At this very moment, the deal is holding up, and there's a tremendous new momentum. Now, is it a coincidence that this is aligning also with Pluto going direct? Pluto, in my sphere of understanding, represents absolute power and control, for better or worse. So it's associated with, on a healthy end of the spectrum, it would be the United States with its Declaration of Independence and its Bill of Rights, the Constitution. And on the other side, it would be tyranny, despotism, China, Russia, Iran, communist dictatorships, evil as a business model, and so on, which is still extremely active today and has by far the dominant position across the world in terms of population living under certain conditions. In America, we got, 330 million, 77 million voted for Trump and MAGA and effectively the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence recycled, 1776 revisited. That's the Pluto cycle exactly. But a lot of the rest of the world is still suffering under tyranny. It's awful. It just brings so much heartache because it doesn't have to be that way. The thing is, regarding evolution, for more and more people to enjoy the benefits of our Constitution and our independence, it requires a mind-boggling attitude adjustment. And if you're a tyrant, dictator, a monster, that's not an option. Evolution in that direction is not an option. In fact, it's just the opposite. You have to double down on evil. So we're looking at, more things like digital IDs, central bank digital currencies, so on and so on. So I got kind of swallowed up in this vortex of good versus evil. And I feel like I'm going to be okay. But it was a real struggle for me emotionally inside. The moon has moved on. It's heading into Leo now. So that's really good for Donald Trump and for America and the American North Node in Leo. Thank God. I don't really like the idea that America has to be a dominant culture and the American empire has to rule. I don't really think of it that way. Yes, big money is all at the center of it. We have the Federal Reserve banking system, and we have sort of an American empire, which is like an extension of the ancient British Empire. But the real thing that we have to offer the world is this. I don't know if you can read it, if it's coming out backwards. I don't know how to control the mirror thing on this camera. Anyway, so I've been reading through my little book about the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And then it comes back to some real simple bedrock principles that you can't have our Declaration of Independence. You can't have our Constitution without a recognition and honor and respect of a higher power, essentially God. And that God bestows what we have, what we call our rights, our freedom, our liberty, our right to pursue happiness, and so on, and speak our minds, our bodies, our heart, and our souls, and to own our sovereign selves, for better or worse. In America, you can say really, really, really bad things if you're willing to accept the consequences, and that's the beauty of our country. So we have that to offer. But again, even with today's spectacular peace deal, those tyrants are still alive. Those tyrannical empires are still operating, and they're trying to figure out now, how are we going to circumvent this historic peace deal today? Because this is not acceptable. I think they're putting on a good front of making it acceptable because deep inside, they need this. But the tyrants at the very, very top, they are narcissistic, psychopath megalomaniacs. So I don't know what's going to happen next, but I'm going to stay hopeful. I've been trying to, distract myself with sort of other, big news of the day things. I'm not, wallowing too much in the analyses of the peace deal and all the speeches. I went through all of it earlier on. And all the media, they're going to do all that stuff. And you can catch all of this anyway through your own, research and homework. There's a lot of controversy going on. It's like, well, okay, what actually happens now that the peace deal is in place? What's really going to happen in Gaza?